we jump into this whole coaching thing. And as it builds and it grows really well, sometimes we realize we're doing way more work than the profit shows. And we have to go back to the drawing board and really ask ourselves, is my current business model the one that I want to continue in? And that's what we're doing today inside of this week's live coaching episode. I'm joined by a parent coach who loves her business, but is feeling a bit burnt out. And together we brainstorm how to increase profit inside of her business so she feels more aligned with it. And make sure you stay to the end because we break through a really huge moment for her around how she can really have everything that she's actually looking for. I am so excited. Our 3-day live signature framework building series is about to happen. We kick off October 7th. And this is where my most successful students learn to create their signature frameworks. And I'm excited to bring it back this fall. And in this live experience, yes, it'll be me there live with you every day. You can actually ask live questions. I'm going to guide you through the first 3 steps that every effective and profitable framework should be built on. I'm going to help you make some key decisions around your framework, and I'm going to help you get massive confidence and clarity in the process. So you're going to do this with an accountability group and me, so you don't feel like you're building and going through this process in a vacuum. And I'm just so excited to have you. So if you want to build your framework with me in just 4 days, coming up starting the week of October 7th, then head on over to amanda-walker.com/live to sign up. There's already action happening inside of the private Facebook community. And so I am excited for you to join all of us there. Hello, coaches. Welcome to a new episode of the Best Damn Coach podcast. It's a live coaching episode. So I have an amazing, beautiful, talented listener here with me today. And we are going to riff and really look more deeply at something that's coming up for her inside of her business and brainstorm on how to kind of create momentum. So Wendy, I'm so pumped you're here. Welcome.
I'm so happy to be here, Amanda. It feels like such a gift to get coached by you. So thank you for having me. This is going to be really fun.
I'm so honored. Let's give some context. Tell our listeners who you coach, what you do, so we can kind of get into your brain and your ideal client.
Yeah. So I coach parents of strong-willed kids who are wanting to go from frazzled and impatient to peaceful and empowered. And I teach firm and kind connection-based parenting strategies. So the way I refer to the work is really, I like to use the term powerful parenting. That's kind of what I'm going with these days. I used positive parenting for years and years, but now I always say I'm a powerful parenting coach and, powerful parenting educator and family life coach. And our clients are usually busy, stressed, younger kids between the ages of 2 or 3 all the way up to the teenage years. We have a large section of ages. And a lot of them, I think the important thing to understand about our clients is a lot of them are doing what I call the switcheroo or the full 180. So a lot of times they've entered into parenting, kind of doing the kind of the old school methods that they just inherited, the classic 4, fear, force, bribery, and rewards. Like that's just how you get kids to comply, right? Like you make sure they know who's boss, you put them in their place when they don't listen, or you give them candy to stay in their bed or go potty and hold a carrot, whatever. So it's kind of all external controls. And so our families that find us are usually kind of knee deep in those patterns, have tried those for a while. Sometimes they're taught in like unhealthy religious circles that they're part of that are really, really intense and preaching harm and like that as the way to be a great parent. And so their patterns are pretty thick. Their limiting beliefs are pretty thick. Their neural conditioning is pretty thick. And yet they listen to their intuition and decide that they're going to do things a different way. And so when they come into our programs, a lot of them are really unwinding a lot of belief systems and knee-jerk reactions and learning to go from reactive to responsive parenting. They're learning to compassionately discipline versus punish. And all of them, for the most part, have at least one strong-willed kid. That's an important signifier of our audience is, in my experience, the parents who have at least one strong-willed kids are one strong-willed child are usually the ones who are brought to their knees and actually like have to get help or you lose your mind.
Okay, cool.
If you have more of an easygoing kid, it's like you can get through life without examining your patterning and all the things. But when you have a strong-willed kid, they're just really good at calling BS on the traditional tactics that are rooted in fear and force. And those are the parents who we find are really the ones who finally say yes to mentorship and education.
So good. I love that overview. I love your work first off, and
Thank you.
Grateful that we can double down on it. So I already have a question. Is powerful parenting a trademark name that you learned from another coaching experience or certification, or is that your words?
It's not. It's one that I'm just starting to play around with because so many people feel like when you use the words gentle, positive, conscious, so many people think that it's permissive. So there's like whack articles written on how gentle parenting is either unbiblical or the reason why the world is going all to hell because these kids are being raised in this like, they get anything they want. Parents never say no. It's like, pretty please, child, put on your shoes. And it just couldn't be farther from the truth. The parents who practice this work are actually using true power to influence their little human souls to cooperate and learn from their mistakes. And they're not overpowering. They're not using fear and force. And so to me, it's true power. And so that's why I'm starting to use that term. I haven't heard anybody else use it.
Cool. I would coin it. I feel like I would really like double down on it. This is just my opinion. When you said powerful, awesome. It took me to like a really good state. I want to be a powerful parent, but I also think that it 100% for me falls out as an acute, or in my world, we talk about acute or long-term frameworks. So either that's what you're teaching me. An acute framework would be, and this is what we teach inside the Framework Building Lab, or Framework Builder Lab, is this could be an acute framework and something that like they do when they're having an episode or breakout or breakthrough with their child is like, okay, tap into the powerful parenting method or formula. And it's bot, like whatever those 3 steps are. Or it could be that it's this longer framework of where they start and how they finish to like recreate that new relationship with their child that they're after. So I would just play around with that. And it could be method, formula, system, whatever those coin words, we teach them inside the lab. So something to just think about and play with aside from the larger thing we're going to get to. But that.
I love it.
Okay, cool. Excellent. I'm glad you love it. So let's speak to the struggle of what's coming up for you, which is like you want to make more revenue. You feel like you're overworking for what the return is. You're feeling a little burnt out. And so we want to speak or kind of explore, are there any opportunities for higher margin products, higher profit margin products that you could potentially offer? Does that feel like I kind of nailed it?
Yeah, so we have quite a portfolio now of products, and it's like I always want to honor my original calling that I felt like was the reason I created this organization to begin with, and that really was to reach the masses. Like I have this dream of every family across the world really getting the message and the memo that they are at choice with how they raise their kids. I just think so many people just really think that that's just the way it's done. You just scare a kid into submission. You make sure they know who's boss, and that works, right? And it's just so clear as we're in the midst of 2 world wars, and it's just not world wars, but 2 wars in the world. And it's just so sad, like the amount of suffering our world goes through when the norms are just kept, right? So it's like, how do we reach the masses, not just a small amount of people who have the financial means, right? So that's kind of a big part of my heart. And so that's why we created the low-cost membership in the beginning. And so we have that. We have a very transformative weekend program that's a bit higher priced. And yet it's it's actually pretty scalable. We just haven't been... We do one in person and one online. So the fall is online 2 Saturdays, and the one in person in San Diego is in the spring. And that's where we the results of that transformative life coaching healing weekend is just insane. And then our high-end program, which I am really excited about, but yet is really intensive for me, is our Become a Parenting Coach certification program. So that's where I train parents to become certified in the Fresh Start Family approach and to be coaches that will go out and spread this light in the future. So when we last met, I was in the middle, or I was just finishing that launch. Yeah, I was just finishing that launch. And my goal was to get 20 students this year because it's a high-end like 5K program. And we got 16. So that was really cool. But it's like a lot of access to me for 7 months. But it's lovely because I get to service like really high level people who usually understand the concepts a lot more. So they're like just a lot deeper in their journey for the most part. But as we talked about, Amanda, those are often my warm audience, right? So my membership community right now is about 300 people. And from there is where I get the majority of my Become a Parenting Coach students. And so there are people in my space that are just coming out the gate and they target students as a certification program. Like they're taking their 3K or their 5K program and they're just marketing to parents who would consider Become a Parenting Coach right away. And so, but yeah, the low cost membership, I love it so much. And the way we've designed our programming is you basically can ask a question every week. And my coaches give like some pretty badass coaching for every single question. And I think it's only about 3 to 5% of our audience that actually ask questions every week. But it's a service intensive membership. It's not just it's not just our library of education. It's also, we have support and service in there.
Mm-hmm. What's the cost of that membership monthly?
$59 a month or $590 a year.
Okay, got it.
And the thinking always was that, when you have the mass numbers, like I studied under someone last year, she's a weight loss coach and, she has 10,000 members. And when you do that, it makes sense. But when you just have a few hundred, it just feels strenuous. And I don't know, maybe that's just a shift that I need to keep working on my mindset around.
Mm-hmm. What about it feels strenuous specifically?
I always say to my team, it just feels like we're giving so much for $59 or $590. But again, only like 3 to 5%. I should ask that stats to my stat girl. It might even be 2 to 3% are asking for the support, right? Like the rest of the community is just, they watch other people get coached. They access the library of like 100 lessons. They're doing it, right? So, but when you look at a person who gets our coaching, let's say we have some clients who ask a question every week, get coached every week. That feels like a lot for $59 a month or $590 a year. So maybe that's what has me out of whack a little bit with it.
Okay, cool. That's where I wanted to like sit, like what's coming up. Okay, let me ask you this other. Well, I mean, I think this is something interesting because while you have an ascension model to some degree, you also have this like top tier that could be that most people won't want, right? Who come from the membership. Right. So you have all these memberships. You have 300. You have those people that are potentially ideal fits for your weekend. Your 2 times a year. But then when you get to the top of your funnel, which is that high ticket, I'm guessing that a very small percentage of people that are wanting parenting help will decide to become that parenting coach. Would you agree?
Yes, I spun it this year in a slightly different way, and it was fantastic. It worked so well. And that was basically like, this program helps you reach full mastery. So out of 16 students, I have probably, I'm going to say at least half who aren't even sure if they want to actually coach one day. They just want full mastery. And I know that if I put them in a program with high level support, tons of accountability, quizzes each week, and a small tight-knit community where they feel super safe, they are going to reach that full mastery really, really fast, right? So it's interesting how we pitched it this year, worked so well to actually, because if I come right out the gate and then I'm like, hey, public, if you want to become a parenting coach, here you go. Yes, you're right. A lot of people are like, no, that's not me. But the way we did it, we've got parents in this high-end program that they just want full mastery. And then they're like, then I'll decide later if I actually want to go become a coach that takes paying clients or volunteer in my church, whatever it may be. Does that make sense, Amanda?
Yeah, it totally does. And I still feel like, and again, this is just my thought as I explore this with you, is I still feel like there's a high amount of like it worked better, right? You already are gleaning insights that were obviously productive, but then I still feel like you're going to have this amount of people that want more from you, which is why you're seeing that repetition at that $59 offer of people who want essentially more one-to-one support. And for you, what's not scalable is more one-to-one work, right? Clearly, this is the whole point, is how do I make more money? Okay, so here is where my brain is going, is how do we, or is it potential? And I'm not like a wild fan of many offers. I think you're really working with a simple offering suite here, but my brain goes to like, how do we double down on what's working already well without reinventing the wheel totally? But is there a way to tier out the membership that makes you feel more energetically compensated for the reoccurring coaching opportunities and pulls back on that lower ticket offer that it sounds like most people aren't really taking advantage of anyway? Hold on, I lost you all of a sudden on sound for whatever reason.
That's such a great question. So, Amanda, we've tried before to have we called it the Express version. At the time, the program was called the Bonfire. Now it's called the Fresh Start Experience. But we had tried to have a Bonfire Express version where you just, you basically, you didn't have access to the group. So maybe that was the problem. If you had access to the group, because the group is like this, like the ecosystem of amazingness. I guess some places it's not, but for us, it's just, the vulnerability and people learn so much by just watching other people go, right? So if you somehow had a group where we could have their level be, so right now we're in Facebook, right? Our private groups are in Facebook. I've thought about getting into Circle before, but like, there's not a way in Facebook to tier out people, right? So that's kind of logistically, this has been a challenge. And then in the past, the Express people who didn't have access to the group or to ask questions, they fell off really fast. So sustainable long-term membership, they were not, like, they didn't hang on, but maybe it was because they didn't have the group experience.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then I've also wondered in the past of just like, how the tier, I've wondered if the tier can add confusion at checkout. So it's like the slowing them down with a decision instead of just being a yes or a no versus like, oh, I don't know, should I join this? Should I not? So that's been the thought pattern, but I'm open to it. I would think we would just have to jump ship to like a Circle community or something. I would assume Circle would let you have people be classified as whether they can ask questions or not. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And maybe tiered, and we're just ideating here, but maybe tiered isn't the, let me give you an example. So,
Okay.
In the FBL, you can join independent study, but at cart checkout, you can bump cart offer and also pay what feels like a no-brainer to get group coaching sessions. And we have a 60% conversion into that tiered offer because people want that live support. And I think I was just having this conversation with a group, a mastermind that I'm a part of, is like the way quote unquote course and programs were working in the old day, they just aren't the same because people recognize it's going to go on like the course graveyard. Like it's going to collect dust, digital dust on the shelves.
Yeah.
And so people want that support and accountability because they're so overstimulated. You have overwhelmed parents, burnt out parents. Like they want you, like they want direct access to you. So that works, or to your coaching staff. So if that is what they get at the membership, there is no reason for them to ask for anything else, right? But you already have this program that you're kind of marketing as this parenting certification. I wonder if you pivot using the same content almost, and it's like, where did I put it here? The powerful parenting mastery. And you're almost walking them through the same process, but you're inviting those in who are wanting more so they can achieve complete mastery. And that is more intimate. They get Wendy, they get only when potentially, I don't know, I'm just making that up. But it's like you're offering them a next tier without qualifying it as the coach component? Because what I hear you saying is what they want, the active people want the coaching. So why would I even go for anything else if I'm already getting all of my needs met there? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Well, become a parenting coach. Are you saying just have a similar product that isn't called Become a Parenting Coach? It's just called the Powerful Parenting Mastery Program, and then you're launching that in a few times a year or something?
It could be, or it's an evergreen experience. You have the membership and then you have an evergreen, and it might require that you pull back some of what is inside the membership and the accessibility of what's there, so it's more sustainable and you can reallocate those efforts into that. And so when I mean tier, I don't necessarily actually mean tier, but I do mean like a next level where they, it could be subscription based or it could be cohort style, like whatever feels good for you energetically. If you love to launch, not launch. But when I hear this, I just see what's missing is an evergreen opportunity that's completely passive and consumption based on your end, that's warming them up into an experience that's more high touch, and that can totally be exhausting.
Yeah, I love that. So we originally started with a course. It's called the Foundations course. Then we had this membership on the side that was the coaching component. It was the support component. Last year, we put all of our eggs in a basket because we saw the data and we were like, look, we know the people who actually change their lives, they have the entire experience. So that's when we combined it all. So now when you join, you get instant access to the entire course, which is the standalone evergreen course, right? No service. But then within this experience, you get everything handed to you on a silver platter. So it's like, so what I'm hearing is like, if there was a way that like, because I'm just riffing too, it's like, yeah. I keep thinking, yes, the evergreen feels so good, right? And I know that people just fall off. So it's like, yeah, I guess you don't want to force the support. But like if there was an in-between, so where they got into the program, they had access to the course and the group, but just not the coaching, and the calls, like that might be a perfect world scenario where you're constantly, and price point, maybe that pops up to like $99 a month or $97 a month versus $59.
Yeah, or it's not $97 at all. It's like $300 a month or something like that. And they're paying, something that really energetically vibes. Because here's what I just want to say, kind of an elephant, is like, you say it's working, but it's really not working for you because you're not making the profitability and you're exerting a lot of energy, right? Would you agree?
Well, that's a tricky question because I keep thinking that if I just get the lead gen numbers, then with a 5% conversion into a $59 a month membership, there are a lot of people who make that successful. For us, it's often the lead gen problem. So how do you get the lead, like the big numbers in the front end without like draining all of your money into ads? So because with a membership like this, if we can just get our numbers up, then it becomes more profitable, right? So it's kind of like that idea of like, how long do we hang on for before we just change the model? It was like, so, and right now, everyone is not classified if you're asking questions or not. Everyone gets the same thing. So it just feels like it makes sense to have it more be like, if you want to have access to ask questions, you just pay a different amount. Everything else is the same, but you just pay a different amount if you want access to the calls and the coaching. It's just, we have to be ready for those people they'll fall off of the membership more easily.
That's fine, right? That is going to happen anytime you transition the model, and we have to be willing to say, have those sacrifices. But something I just want to also point out is, I hear you that reaching the masses is a core part of your being, but I think this is a struggle for a lot of people. We want to be accessible, but that's why you build a model that has accessibility built in. That's why you have a podcast, so that you can reach the masses. And I just need to remind you of that too, is you are putting a crap ton of energy and effort, as do I, to produce a podcast that can reach literally the masses, because I know not everybody is going to necessarily have the resources to invest at this time. They may down the road, but I want to create accessibility to the information, right? And so at some point, though, this isn't a hobby. This is you get exhausted if you're not seeing the financial and the freedom ROI of what you're looking for. Then you are energetically depleted when you pour up, and you actually reach far less people because you're not
Yeah.
loving, how you're showing up. So just to reframe is you're already doing brilliant things inside of your business to reach the masses and make that footprint wide. Now it's a question of how can you serve people at a higher capacity so you feel energetically aligned with the output.
Yep. Yeah, I think my little skeptical brain goes to like, man, there's a shit ton of people who just pay their monthly fee and they never ask for help, And
Yeah, and
they
is that a good thing? I will ask you. Is that the
it's a good
results that you
question.
want?
Well, it's tricky, Amanda, because I have a woman in my Become a Parenting Coach program now. She's from Bulgaria, and she like wrote me in when she originally left the membership. So she joined from like 2020 to 2019 to 2021. And she wrote in, she was like, hey, you never see me on coaching calls. I never ask questions. I live in Bulgaria. I'm upside down on time zone. She goes, but I have soaked in everything you have taught me, every class. I take notes when my girls and I are at the bus stop. I look at my notes. She's like, thanks to this work and this program, like I now have a relationship with my daughters that I never had with you. And then she goes, and my third child, she goes, I just had my third baby, named her after you. She will never know anything other than positive parenting. And I was like, holy smokes, that's a person that never asked a question, never got coached,
Totally.
was the dream, air quotes, the dream person who just joins the membership, pays the fee. And now she's in my high end, now she's becoming a parenting coach. She's in my 5K program, paid full price, never even asked for a discount. And so that's what messes with me a little bit, because I'm like, is it like as someone has to be in the coaching and at the calls, or can they really have their life transformed by just witnessing and being in like a non-coaching type environment? So I play ping pong in my head a lot with these ideas.
Well, I think you nailed it. They 100% can. There's a difference of knowing that or banking on that, like passive, like those people hanging out in that, low ticket. And I want to be transparent. I am not a low ticket like master. Being a low ticket membership is not necessarily where my zone of genius is. I'm in that upper ticket. But I think when you are offering that much coaching at the low ticket, the inevitability is that the transition of something new is going to be created in order for you to sustainably serve that. And that's not saying the low ticket should ever go away if it's your bread and butter. But maybe those are one time a month and you do an hour-long session and you're like, hey, if you love this so much, like this is what we do weekly, and inside of the blah, blah, blah,
like
experience. And so they get a taste of what is already your wheelhouse. And then, other bonuses or things, and you slowly kind of reposition with the understanding like, hey, this is going to be, there's going to be some changes. But it makes me think also of a resource. Have you read Robert Scrobe's Retention Point?
No.
Literally just had him on the podcast today, so it's fresh on my brain.
Nice.
But you speak to, you said like those people just kind of fell off early. And I would argue that it's not the membership, it's the onboarding and on-ramping experience. And Robert talks a lot about memberships he's totally a retention guru, churn rate guru. But the thing I've learned for him is like, how do we create that immediate ROI in those experiences that are low ticket so that they like are afraid almost to like do without it? And so maybe it's not so much the offer, but the way the offer is rolled out. That's the opportunity for you to retain that lower ticket. And then he also talks about actually a way to legitimize a lower ticket is to immediately give an upsell into a higher ticket. And so what that says is like, hey, like you love this, but what we know is accountability is really important. And if you want that, like this happens in the blah, blah, blah community or whatever. And so what it does is it increases the perceived value of what they're getting at that lower ticket. And I don't want to steal all his methodologies, but if
That's
you haven't
great. I like
studied
that.
his work, it's important. He even talked about today on the show is the number one way, if he were to tell his people to do anything, the number one thing he would say is create an immediate win in your membership, because it tells the people that there is value to be had and they don't want to leave. And so maybe that's something to just to go back with your team around and just say, are we doing a good enough job? Are we banking on the coaching calls to do that work for us? Is there a way to slowly create separation there so we can create that, mid-tier? Because that's what I think is missing, is a mid-tier. Yes, you have your weekend programs. Those are only 2 times a month or 2 times a year. But I wonder if there's a way to really create that opportunity.
Yeah, it's like I'm thinking about all this, how this would look in real life, and yeah, it's like our onboarding is so insane now. We did so much in 2023, but it's for our full program, right? Like back when we had that express offer, there wasn't the same onboarding experience, right? So I can see how, and I know you keep mentioning like this different offer, but part of like what I've wanted to do is like simplify my offerings. And so can you tell me what you mean, Manda? Like, are you against the tier system of like, so say Fresh Start Experience and Fresh Start Experience Gold, for lack of better words. Let's just use the word
Sure.
platinum or
Yeah.
gold right now.
Yeah.
Because that feels more easily doable and executable than like creating a new product. And because I just want to live launch twice a year and then have everything on automation. Like that is plenty. I might even want to go to once a year launching in 2025. So the idea of like a simple product and just have
simple.
different tiers. Do you like tiers?
Yeah, I love simple. I just wonder if 59 versus 79 is tiered enough to create the profitability.
90.
Yeah. $100 versus the $60 or whatever. If that's enough to like, I would have to bust open a spreadsheet and play with those numbers and at the volume that you have, just for you to make that decision of, is that, what you need? I almost feel like it's got to be a bigger gap for you to have that profitability. And that less people will be in that upper tier, but that may mean that you need to take things away to leverage that tier. Or you could price anchor 3 tiers that drive everybody to the middle tier. Give me that super high impactful 10K offer here, that
like
low ticket 59, and then that sweet spot of 197 right here or whatever in the middle. That kind of, I might even do this like 97 and 197. So it feels like I don't know. We'd have to play with those numbers, but ultimately the way like to come full circle is we can ideate together, the whole time. But we have to take a step back and just ask, is it really working? Yes-ish. And how do we create a structure in which that profitability exists for you to create the life and the financial resources that you want, so you can make other impact, right? The only way your coaching business isn't the only way to make impact, right? The profitability will give you also other ways to create the impact that, you desire. And so ultimately the number one thing to do is go to your people and ask them first off.
Yeah.
And then test it, which isn't sexy at all, but that's, in the end, that's actually what will do, the job. And because you have lots of 300 people in a $59 offer, doesn't mean that you don't you can hang them there and try things with new clients and test them to see what's really working for you.
Yeah, I love that. And then, the whole the high level certification thing, that's a conversation for another day. Cause it's like, I'm really feeling a desire to push that more, but that almost feels like it's a bit of like a different, because right now I'm taking all my people from my membership, right? Like for the most part, I think I have pretty much everyone in there is from that. So let's just call it that. There's not like someone found me and they were like, oh my gosh, I just met you in March and I joined your 5K certification program in April. Like everyone's been with me for a while. They've at least been listening to the podcast for years. So that does interest me about the future of like, how do you go straight for those customers, right? Because that felt really good. That felt really good to like have a 5K program launch. And I can just imagine how life-giving that would be if I built that program out. But that's just a whole different thing, I think.
Yeah.
So
Potentially could be both, but maybe that's, you learn from the first model to recreate the second. So maybe you build that in more of a, an SLO that's specific to maybe a like maybe you build the funnel
I
a little
love
bit differently that is a little bit more passive in nature, to feed that upper tier offer that's more geared towards that ideal client. So you're really striking or leading to that parenting coach. So maybe that's just something to consider, as you dream about that too.
That's amazing. I'm going to have to like re-listen to all of
No,
this
I
because
know.
all of your wisdom is like golden.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much here, and I appreciate that feedback. We're not coming to a conclusive answer, but a lot of it has to do with trusting yourself and what you know to be working, but also because I don't have numbers or metrics or any of those things, but also to understand that your business is going to grow with you. What we need to do to get to 6 figures is different than what we need to do to get to 250 is different than, $500,000 to 7 figures, and to be open to the growth that, has to happen with us. And sometimes that means losses, and it feels a little grieving, like you're losing. Trust me, I've been there. But ultimately, a mentor once asked me early days in business, I think we might have talked about this before, so forgive me if I'm repeating, but he said to me, oh, cool. Like he was so pumped for me in the beginning when I was health and nutrition work, was like, oh, cool. But like, what if you get 100 clients tomorrow? And I kind of was like, it's not a problem for me right now. Like when I have 100 clients waiting for me, like that'll be good stuff. But truthfully, I should have thought more about the end, design with the end in mind a long time ago. And so now having my business in a place where we could take 1,000, 2,000 clients tomorrow, and it wouldn't change the demands on me really, other than probably some like, oh my goodness, like let's make sure everybody's working and everything's working in the right places. And so that's what I would just encourage you to keep asking yourself is that 5 years future self or that 3-year future self, like how would she be making her decisions to support the lifestyle that you're after, which does require sometimes to make hard decisions, but ultimately that's going to allow you to give back in a higher way too.
I love that. That spoke so well, Amanda, to I think the right term is cognitive dissonance I have that I know can get in our way of actually creating the financial gain, because it's like I say I want 5 or 10,000 members at a low cost membership, but really my brain, even with all of the awareness I have around it, it spins out a little bit when I think about serving that amount of people with the coaching model we have set up right now. It feels unsustainable. So it's like, I know that I'm probably getting in my own way because I don't feel like it just would require too much work. Like the work we do, the level that we're doing, I just have been feeling like this for a while, that it needs a bigger price tag on it. So we actually have less clients, because you just can't sustain a model like that where you're that intimate with people. I mean, this is crazy stuff we do, Amanda. I mean, we are coaching intense, beautiful stuff. And that just needs to be at a higher price point. And the book and the podcast serves the masses. So
exactly. Cool.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, I am so grateful for you that you shared your heart and your struggles. And I'm sure so many listeners are so going to be like, oh, Wendy, I've been there. I am in there. So will you give a shout out though to where people can connect with your work too?
I would love that. Thank you for asking. Yeah, come find me. I'm on Instagram. I love to teach a lot of free stuff over there. I'm at Fresh Start Wendy. And then podcast is the Fresh Start Family Show, and website is freshstartfamilyonline.com.
I love it. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm so grateful.
Thanks, Amanda.